I want to welcome you all to the Buckeye Weekly Podcast. I'm Tony Gerdeman, here as always with Tom Orr. Tom, how is it going?
Boy, that was a real exciting first half, and voice trails off, mumble. How are you doing?
Doing well. That first half, Kyle McCord, I tweeted out the stats, Tom, over at halftime. Over the last 10 quarters against Michigan State, Ohio State starting quarterbacks have completed 74 of 86 passes, 86% completion for 1,056 yards with 15 touchdowns and 1 interception. Yes, Tom, that is 15 touchdown passes and 12 incompletions in the last 10 quarters against Michigan State.
Do you remember when Michigan State used to give Ohio State fits? They beat them twice in the span of 3 years, in 2013 and 2015.
Mm-hmm.
Boy, that feels like a while ago, doesn't it?
It was a while ago. Super chat?
We do have a super chat.
Here we go.
Blue Wolverine says, enjoying the show, looking forward to a competitive game on the 25th. What a wild season. And it does, watching Michigan, that was a good win for Michigan. And, there's always the question, is there going to be, when you have a week as Michigan did, how are people going to respond? They came out, they responded fine. It was not, run Penn State off the field or anything. It was a very good performance against a good team in a tough place to win. But I also didn't look at that and go, well, Ohio State's got no shot against this team, because this was finally Michigan getting tested. Mm-hmm. And Michigan, showed up. They were a good team, but this was not like, oh boy, it's the 95 Nebraska Cornhuskers and everybody just better get out of their way.
I wonder how a Penn State team coached by Bill O'Brien would have done instead of
I wonder
James
how
Franklin.
a Penn State a Penn State team coached by Sharon Moore. I mean, we could have Tony, let's not do the 2-point conversion game theory conversation right now, because we do have to talk about Ohio State.
Yeah,
we should talk about the Ohio State game at some point on this here Ohio State.
Yeah, well, let's
channel.
do it with the super chat here from Ryan Dawes. How many interceptions did the Buckeyes drop tonight? Still a good game by the secondary. I saw Jermaine Matthews late kind of got a finger jammed or something on one that he jumped, and then he had to come out, and Calvin Simpson Hunt went in, and then Michigan State immediately attacked him with a screen pass with like 3 offensive linemen coming towards him, but he still stuck his nose in there and went after it. But
the Jordan Hancock had one that I thought, you just about had 6 points there.
Yeah, that would have been another one for him. I don't recall any others. Go ahead and throw them in the chat if you're remembering any. But there would have been more interceptions if the quarterback was more accurate. Some of the overthrows, there was not an opportunity to catch.
Yeah.
Super chat from Dave K. Kids are still up, so please keep it PG. Don't be Sharon Moore. Now, I did hear some of that in the post game or just off camera from that. I guess he was. We don't need to get into it, but I guess he was also crying during the post game. I missed that.
It was not like, oh, he's a little verklempt. It was like Michael Jordan crying. It was aggressive and
aggressive.
For this thing that has just sort of happened to Jim Harbaugh without anything, Jim Harbaugh having anything to do with anything about anything.
Tom, please save it for Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Now it's about Ohio State.
Yes, it is about Ohio State. Yes, Sharon Moore basically did the old George Carlin 7 things you can't say on TV in about a 25-second post-game interview. So it was.
So what was this? This was live.
It was live, and whoever was on the dump button for Fox was asleep at the switch.
Well, they let Charles Woodson cuss in a pregame show, so I guess it's just.
How are we going to be game day?
That's right. You got to go a little blue. Hey,
hey, there. Just got that.
Good night, everybody. That'll do it. We're out of here. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, this was in terms of a game plan from Ohio State. This was, first of all, the Heisman Trophy is going to be handed out in about a month or so, and it's time to get some stats up there for Marvin Harrison Jr. We're sure how a lot of the first half felt, but also when you have a player who the opposing team simply does not have any answer for, you should throw him the football or hand him the football. However you want to get him the football, you should put the football in his hands and let him do crazy stuff that no one else can match up with. I feel like we've been saying this all year, and then you see what it looks like when they've played plenty of teams that have not been able to match up with Michigan State. I'm going to be so interested to talk to Ross Fulton about, okay, why were they able to do this just at will against Michigan State? Because he finished with 120-something yards. 149 yards receiving, and also 7 catches on 9 targets, 149 yards, 2 touchdowns receiving, and then 1 run for 19 yards. So he averaged 19 yards a rush and 21.3 yards per pass. So that seems pretty good. I'm going to be very interested to talk to Ross about, okay, why were they able to do this against Michigan State when they haven't been able to do it in the past? Because it seemed like the deep shot that was like that 57-yarder, it seemed like that was maybe a little bit underthrown. Was it? I mean,
well, it was 95% perfect.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah. Okay. And then there was the one that was in the end zone that was, maybe a little behind him. That was the incompletion. But it felt like there was just no answer from Michigan State on that all night.
Well, and Ryan Day even said it just a little bit ago that they were doubling him some, but Marvin was still getting open against the doubles, and then he said, I think that deep pass in the third quarter was also double, but he ran right through it. Just ran past the corner, ran past the safety. It's like, yeah. And then as Kyle McCord said, he's open whenever, there's times where he's being doubled, but he still gets open. And they ran some nice corner routes on that double coverage and, dropping in between the safety and the corner and got him involved quickly. Now, Tom, I don't know if you believe this or not, because I think we both all of us came in expecting them to target Marvin Harrison because you do have a Heisman thing going on, but that had nothing to do with any of this, according to Ryan Day. It's not about building up stats for the Heisman, because he did say the Heisman goes to the most outstanding player, not the best stats. Now, Marvin has some really good stats, but you can't focus on that. Even though, Tom, I'm surprised they didn't get 4 touchdowns for him, because obviously they were trying, and I don't know why they were trying, other than he's a really good player, but also
it's one of those things where you can't say, if you're a director of a movie, you can't be like, this movie is Oscar bait. It's like, no, we are just doing our very best artistically. And, if it happens to get recognized by the Academy, so be it. And if people happen to be watching a primetime game that they're probably going to tune out of at halftime, but if they happen to be watching the first half of a primetime game and see Marvin Harrison scoring in multiple ways and in making big plays, then, hey, listen, if that happens to work out to be, Heisman voters are watching, hey, that's so be it. That's not certainly not what we're intending. Ryan Dawes says, were you guys surprised to see Lincoln Keenholz?
No, because Devin Brown tweaked his ankle pregame. Okay. So that's what that was about. That's why he didn't play. And watching pregame, then it was Lincoln Keenholz throwing second behind McCord when they were doing warm-ups and early on. So that's why he got in there, and I was glad to see it, because this was his first action of the year. So they let him throw it, which is something they haven't done for a true freshman since Kyle McCord, maybe.
Yeah, I thought that was great. That was because Devin Brown didn't throw a pass last year, right? No, so I thought that was great. I didn't realize that Devin Brown had tweaked his ankle. At one point, I was walking second half, I think, maybe right after halftime, I was walking down the field and walked past the OSU bench and saw Kyle McCord on the bike, on the south end of the stadium. I texted you guys, hey, Kyle McCord's on the bike. Just to let you know, hey, keep an eye on. And then as I walked about halfway down the bench, there's Devin Brown on another bike. And I was like, Devin Brown's on another bike. And it's like, are the quarterbacks doing a spin class? What's going on? But yeah, that's hey, it's cold. You're keep the blood flowing, keep the muscles warm. But that was great. That was, I've many times had issues with how Ryan Day utilizes those precious few opportunities in the second halves of games. This time, no notes. Great. You got the wide receivers out. You got Travion Henderson out. I don't think Henderson or any of the ones on the wide receivers played much, if at all, in the second half.
Just Marv.
Okay. And then you had, so you're getting, Jaden Ballard and those guys are in very early. You still have the first team offensive line in there with Kyle, because you don't want Kyle to get hit. And then you get him out, and you have Lincoln Keenholz getting reps, and you get all your twos, had the whole fourth quarter. I think I saw 3 different guys playing center, And like that's it. That's what you do. You get all these guys out and keep them healthy. That is goal number one right now. Goal number one is beat Minnesota next week. Goal number two is keep all these guys healthy for Michigan because Minnesota just got firebombed by Purdue today. So that's probably not going to be, next week is probably going to be second verse, same as the first in terms of this 2-game homestand. But if you can keep these guys healthy, that's going to be big. As far as health updates, was there any kind of update in terms of Emeka Egbuka? And was there any update on Mike Hall?
Well, no, nothing on
Okay.
Mike Hall. Emeka, nothing there that I don't think there's anything said there. It didn't seem serious. I mean, he pulled himself. He limped off, and Mike Hall left for maybe the tent, and I don't know that he ever came back. But again, I'm not going to complain here.
Yeah,
but it's impossible to see the numbers from the press box with these jerseys. This is not an angry old man yelling at the clouds. This is legit. You can't see the numbers, so you try to see who is playing, and you have to just go based on like I could tell that's Hero Canoe. And you can't see the numbers, but it's like that looks like Hero Canoe. But I don't know that Mike Hall came back. It doesn't seem serious, but and maybe I don't know that it is. Kate Stover obviously just played one half. That was not because of injury, but just because if you play more than one half, it's unfair. And we know the Big Ten does not like unfair competitive advantages, So 7 catches in one half for an Ohio State tight end. I'm guessing that's a record, but I'm not going to say it is.
7 catches on 7 targets.
Yeah.
7 catches on 7 targets, 79 yards. Super chat from Mark Fetters. Has Kyle McCord taken the next step?
As long as he doesn't get rushed, yes.
Yeah. I mean,
as long as everybody plays, no, but this was,
yeah.
He's had some bad footwork without being pressured, and he had plenty of time in this one, and said during his post-game interview that he spent this week was focused on his footwork, getting that right. And Ryan Day said it, and you could just see he was really comfortable, not pressured out there, plenty of time to throw, but stepping into stuff, and even a couple of where he just throws off his back foot because he's just lofting it up for Marv. Like he was pinpoint on his passes today, threw some very CJ Stroudian passes in there, dropping some dimes on people.
CJ Stroudian is one of the kindest adjectives you can throw on a quarterback these days. Super chat from Dave K. Kyle looked more comfortable than he has all year. Ankle healing? ? Game slowing down? ? Michigan State sucks? ? All of the above? ? I think it is definitely D. All of the above. But he said in the post game, Ryan talked about it, the fact that the game was slowing down for him, and Kyle talked about the fact that it's that's just film study. That is just being in the film room, and you recognize stuff, and you don't have the oh crap what's going on moment because your brain has seen it, and it's like, okay, I know what this is, and now I know what it is, and I know what the response is. That's what you talk about when the game's slowing down, is you don't have that like panic moment, because you've seen that panic moment, and I think a lot of those panic moments have resulted in the intentional grounding penalties that have seemingly been a week to week thing. Didn't have one tonight. That's good. That is a sign of progress. Quarterbacks are going to grow over the course of the season. The quarterback in week 2 is not the quarterback in week 11 or 12. That's unless something has gone horribly wrong, and that has generally not been at all the case with Ryan Day quarterbacks.
No, and Ryan Day has talked about Kyle McCord. When he finds the speed of the game, he plays better. He had the speed of the game down from kickoff, basically, in this one, and five touchdowns and 6 possessions in the first half, and everything was firing. This is the Ohio State offense that we expected, or that we expected before the season, because again, this is an offense under Ryan Day that always scores 40 points per game. They've always averaged over 40 points per game since he got to Ohio State. So you wouldn't expect that to end now with a new quarterback, because all of the other new quarterbacks under Ryan Day have done it as well. So why wouldn't Kyle McCord? But of course, Tom, they did fail to score 40 points in this one. So same old. But 35 in the first half, or whatever it was. You'll take that, obviously. And they were firing like they should when they have all of their guys back. And the thing is, they've got them back, but they're still not as healthy as maybe they will be in 2 weeks.
Right. And the other thing is, they had all their guys, and then they played them for a half.
Yeah.
They finished with 38 points, and that did raise their season average because they were at 32.8. So they were like just over a touchdown over the Ferentz Meridian. And so they put up 35 in the first half, which I'll do the math for you. If you do that again in the second half, that's 70. Now, they didn't need to do that because I think they have, as much as they want to, say that they're not focusing on Michigan, like absolutely you are managing every part of this program right now with, hey, the Michigan game's in 14 days. Like, you can say that that's not, obviously they have to they're paying attention, they practice, and they talked about them, they watch Michigan State film, all that. You're managing your program to that game right now, as well you should. And, so they put up 35 in the first half. They very easily could have put up whatever number they wanted to. If they wanted to hang 90, they probably could have pressed, run some tempo, and gotten to 90. But, that doesn't really, that doesn't accomplish anything. You're just trying to, at this point to beat Minnesota and get to Michigan with giving yourself the best opportunity you have to beat Michigan.
Do we want to take this optimism and this happy note that everybody is going through right now and turn it all down and go with the super chat here from Rick Reese?
Are we on the internet? Rick Reese says, are we going to fall for any more fake punts this year? Hope we're looking for a new special teams coach. Now, the fake punt, they had the regular defense out, right?
They had the defense, but they also, I think, had a punt returner back there just in case. But yeah.
That was like the most screamingly obvious fake punt situation. Like they will just, they call it punt safe, and you basically have the regular defense out there because you're assuming, okay, they're going to do something stupid and try and get this. And they did something stupid and they got it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how much you can fault, because even when it happened, I'm like, is that Jim Knowles' fault or is that Parker Fleming's fault? Who do we blame there? And it's just, I think what you blame is field position and the fact that they only needed like a yard or something like that. So it's like, this is a tough thing to stop. And then you go with an awkward, you don't know what to expect defensively. And it's different than facing an offense and the linemen and the gaps and all of that. That's all a little bit different. So you're just kind of at a little bit of a disadvantage there because Michigan State knows what they're doing. You don't know what they're doing. Even though you might suspect it, and still you still have to defend it and then keep them from getting a yard.
Right. Yeah. I do want to get to something here. Kyle McCord's performance versus Michigan State versus JJ McCarthy's performance versus Michigan State.
Very similar.
Let's, if we can punch that graphic up, Michigan State has not been very good. They have, as you may be aware, Tony, they've had some off-field stuff this year, which has led to a potentially like pinstripe bowl maybe team being sub pinstripe bowl level. But I mean, you look at the stats between the two, very similar games. I mean, the Michigan people are going to say like, oh, well, we got 49 and you only got 38 and you gave up 3 points. And, again, either of these teams could have basically named their score against Michigan State. But, you look at them and 21-27, 287 yards, 4 touchdowns for McCarthy, 24-31, 335 yards, 3 touchdowns for McCord. That's close enough for government work, as they say.
I believe McCord was 21 of 25 at the half and was 270 some yards. So like he had almost essentially gotten to McCarthy's numbers there. And I was going to tweet that out, but it's like, you know what? My mentions are trash right now, so I don't want to make things any worse. Tom,
can I just tell you my workflow?
Yes.
Type, tweet, mute this conversation. Just 1, 2, 3. 3 steps to a happy life online.
Well, and there are some of those that I do. It's it's like a grenade. You throw it and you run away because know, and sometimes there's going to be some collateral damage in the mentions, but this is going to be a long 2 weeks on Twitter and I'm just going to have to mute everything. And the thing is,
Ron Swanson throwing computer in dumpster.gif. That's Tony operating Twitter the next 2 weeks.
And then say Michigan beats Ohio State. 2 weeks after that, for the 2 weeks after that, my mentions are going to be trash. And it's not like I've said anything that should result in that other than I'm stating some facts, and then people don't like that. Like, let's not get into it.
Let's not get into it.
There's Sunday, there's Monday, there's Tuesday, there's Wednesday, there's Thursday, there's Friday.
This was another game where having Travion Henderson in there, this was not, Travion Henderson had back-to-back 200 total yard games. It was not anywhere close to that tonight. 13 carries, 63 yards, 4.8 yards per carry, but just shy of 5 yards a carry and on a long of 13. Yep. So this was, that is 4 yards, 4 yards, 5 yards, 4 yards. I mean, that's what that is. And going into the game, that was my expectation. You look at the advanced stats, and Ohio State, the Michigan State rushing defense against the Ohio State rushing offense was the one area where it was like, okay, I sort of expect that they'll probably be able to keep Ohio State in check. And they did, but 4.8 yards per carry, that's fine. They averaged 5.5 yards per carry overall. But, then he had a couple plays in the passing game, 2 catches, 14 yards. He's not, and that's 2 catches on 2 targets. Like it was very efficient. He did not have any explosive plays, but it was just a solid night. And then the one nice run for the, I think it was a 9-yarder for the touchdown, but that was that was a nice little burst and kind of broke through a tackle inside the 5 to get in there.
I like the way they keep using Xavier Johnson, and they were doing some more just running back with him in this one. I believe he had 2 of their 3 longest plays. He had a 27-yarder and a 27-yard run, and then he had a 31-yard catch. So he had 2 of the 3 longest plays for the Buckeyes. Obviously, Marvin Harrison with the 57-yarder, and he's a guy that they were using in the same way with kind of the same rush every time with him, but it was effective, and seems like they'll be building something off of that, because when he was coming in, they would go to him essentially, and that's what the 21 personnel we were talking about before the game, 2 running backs, and he's definitely a running back in that situation because he is lined up in the backfield, but you can do more with him, and so it'll be interesting to see how they continue to build off of that, and just all of these different things that are coming together. You're seeing it in different ways, but you're not seeing it in every way yet because they're going to build off of these things.
And he feels like, they talked about Sonny Styles as being a Swiss Army knife. Xavier Johnson feels a little like a Swiss Army knife, where you have all of these little different, like, specialized jobs. And it's like, he's not necessarily your best receiver. He's not necessarily your best running back, but there's certain things that it's like he is just the perfect tool for the job. And it feels like they're finding new ways for him to do those things. Super chat from Jeff Hines. Very telling that 2 Michigan alum judges rejected temporary restraining order efforts. Enjoy your hotel rooms, Jimmy. Can't wait to tail you down in 2 weeks. So, I think that's not quite what happened. I'm not going to pretend I have an incredible grasp on all of this because I've kind of been running around all day and I was not around for when this all broke. I don't think 2 different judges rejected it, and I don't think anyone actually rejected it. I think it was we need to have a hearing in order to, Yeah, they didn't. Yeah, they didn't agree to the emergency injunction, but you're going to have a hearing on Friday. It sounds like next week. So, I'm not going to play legal scholar here and speculate on what this all means. But, it didn't seem to have a real huge impact on Michigan in State College. So,
no. Tell me if you believe this comment from Blue Wolverine in the chat. Michigan fans will be completely intolerable if they win out. Do you agree with that? Do you think is that the most accurate statement you've ever heard?
That doesn't sound like the internet that I know. I mean, let's be honest. There is not really a fan base that's super right.
Understanding.
There is not a fan base that I can think of right now that is. I mean, if Kansas football won the Big 12, it would be like, you know what, good for them. But I mean, I remember when Clemson was, the fun, scrappy underdog, and it was like, oh, Clemson, good for you. And it took about 6 months to be like, oh, okay, so. JG says, off the top of your minds, who is your band?
Because we were talking about the concert I was at in the chat. So I
Oh.
think JG wants to know who your bands are.
Who our bands are.
What am I listening to right now? Honestly, Tom, actually, and Kevin, I've been this like last 3 weeks, I've just been listening to Cracker from not just the 90s, but also like 2005s and 10s. Just so I'm old school. It's not even old school. It's pretty new school for me. It's like 15-ish years old.
I can recommend some podcasts for you. Would you like me to recommend some podcasts?
It's called drinking tea. Wait, that's a commercial.
No, I can't listen to podcasts when I'm working.
So getting us accidentally back on topic, it was so interesting in the first half because Ohio State had, first of all, Michigan State finished with 3.4 yards per play. Michigan State was at like 6.6 or 6.8 yards per play for a decent chunk of the first half. One of the people I was talking to on the field said, this is the most uninspiring shutout you've ever seen, where Michigan State kept driving down the field and, getting the ball into plus territory and not doing anything with it. I mean, their first 4 drives, 7 plays, 36 yards, missed a field goal, 4 plays, 30 yards, punt, 9 plays, 32 yards, punt, 6 plays, 19 yards, punt. I mean, and then after that, it was 3 plays, -1, 1 play, -3, 3 plays, 5, and then, 7 for 27, 10 for 30, 3 for 5, 3 for -3. But the first 3 drives, it was kind of like, I know Ohio State's missing 3 starters, but it was a little off, it felt like, for the Ohio State defense.
Well, and I think one of the things as I'm watching that, you could just count on Michigan State to fail at some point. So this is one of those where you could just do a bend but don't break, and eventually this 3rd and 6 is not going to be completed.
Bend but they'll break.
Yes, exactly. And you saw 2 of 14 on 3rd downs for Michigan State.
Yeah.
The key was to get them into a 3rd down, but they were 2 of 2 on 4th downs. But their scoring drive was 19 yards?
Yes.
So
and can we talk about for a moment? You're on the road.
Oh yeah.
You're a massive underdog. Your defense has given up. I think what was the score at that point? It was that was the first drive. Ohio State has just marched right down the field and scored a touchdown. You're not playing Iowa. This is not a game that's going to end up 12-10. Like, you're going to have to punch the ball in the end zone. And it was 4th and 5 or something, and
4th and 5.
4th and 5, and they lined up for a 56-yard field goal. I know your kicker's got a big leg, but he, no matter how far he kicks it, even if it's between the posts, it's only worth 3 points. Like, you gotta play to win the football game, and what your defense is. You know what the Ohio State offense is. Did you come in under the impression that field goals were going to win you this game? Because I have bad news, friend.
The other thing I didn't like about that from the Ohio State side, why didn't you have anybody back there to potentially return that? Because it's a 56-yarder that it was short. It was a little wide. It may have been able to be caught because it landed towards the out of bounds of the end zone.
You want to put the Ohio State special teams on the edge of hey, well, this is a little out of the ordinary.
But
Fumbled it in the end zone and jumped on
hey,
it or something.
I'm there should have been somebody back there.
So you're telling me? Yeah, I mean, believe me, I am always in favor of kick sixes. But, So I thought that was interesting. And then there was another one where he lined up. The one that they made later was another
53.
4th and 3 or something.
Yeah, and
it was 21.
52 and
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would have been good for 54.
And it was 35-0 at that point, I believe, or
it was
28-0.
at least 21-0, and it was just okay. So now you get to say
21-0.
now you get to say you didn't get shut out by both Michigan and Ohio State in the same.
At least it was in the second quarter.
Play to win, man. Play to win, and especially you're an interim head coach. He's an Ohio native, I think. So I think he said that he was an Ohio native in the post-game interview, and there are a bunch of Ohio kids on this team. You want them to go home for Christmas and be like, well, we didn't get shut out.
Yes.
Take that.
No, you don't want to be shut out. And so you got that points out early. Now you can go try to win. Now that you're no longer getting shut out, now we can play to win.
Pressure's off, and then it was just an avalanche of points after that. Do we want to do a little bit of hit a couple of the interviews you sent? I know we've got Sonny Styles.
Yeah, I'm not sure entirely all of what Sonny Styles will listen to, but he did talk about being 2 weeks in a row now and replacing Lathan Ransom, how he's comfortable there. He's been comfortable there because that's what he came to Ohio State to play. You know, that's what he played last year as well. So there's that. You know, just missing some of the guys on defense and rallying around not having Tommy Eichenberg in there and, you know, stuff like that.
Guys down this week, I think guys were able to step up and execute.
You didn't miss Tommy that much?
Yeah, you know, obviously that's my brother. You know, we miss him out there, but like I said, you know, guys got to step up and got to execute.
What did you think of McCord to Harrison tonight? Did you see the work?
That was great. You know, you love seeing that when you're on the sideline as a defense. You know, seeing your offense is clicking and rolling.
Yeah.
How was Malik back there?
I think Malik did a good job. You know, he's a young guy, but I think he does well knowing his job, and I think he's getting better every week.
It's like being the old guy.
Yeah, it's crazy to say I'm the old guy out there, but yeah, being out there with Malik, you know, obviously I played a little bit more football than him, so yeah, I think I stepped into that leadership role. You know, guys going down like Lathan and Proctor, so it's kind of boosting me a little bit in the leadership role, and I'm trying to take advantage of that.
How about the sack you had tonight? Run us through that.
Yeah, it's just a little boundary pressure we got. So yeah, you know, I ended up coming out free. You know, it's pretty difficult when our D line is that good, and then you got me blitzing. It kind of makes it hard for them to try and pick me up.
Yeah, Sonny, this time last year you were one of those players getting into the second half when the game's out of hand. What's it like now to kind of be able to watch some guys that are beneath you get in?
I mean, it's great. I love seeing the younger guys get in there and make plays. You know, they work hard in practice every week, so for them to get that moment out there and take advantage, it's great.
Yeah, Coach Day was talking about Calvin tonight. Had a great play on the screen. Was there anyone that stuck out to you, I guess, you were watching?
I mean, yeah, that was a great play by him. I think he's pretty physical on the offensive line and got off the block and made a play, so that was a great play. But, I mean, I think there's a lot of guys who stepped up today. It's hard to pick one.
When the offense is humming like it was today, what does that do for you guys as a defense?
I think it gives you a little bit of extra boost. You know, it's great to see your offense flying around, you know, deep balls, deep shots, touchdown. I mean, it gives you a little bit of pep in your step, if you know what I mean.
So how much pep in your step was added by the fact that Ryan Day said he cut back in the practices a little bit this week? How much did that help?
Yeah, I think you know later in the season he's trying to take care of our bodies. You know, Coach Day he's a player's coach, and he hears players out and tries to make sure we're feeling good. I think it definitely helped. I mean, my body played great today, so I think other guys felt the same.
Mentally, how tough was it this week? I mean, this was a team that only had one Big Ten win, and there's a lot going on in college football right now. How tough was it to feel this?
I mean, I think for us it's not very hard to focus. We're so focused on the goal, and you know, every week in front of us, they're keeping us from that goal. So there's really no challenge of focus because we're focused on getting where we need to go.
Did you watch any Penn State Michigan game today? I mean, I know you couldn't have sat down with Pat.
Yeah, I watched a little bit of it. You know, two really good teams. You know, it's a good game.
That's crazy.
Sonny, how are you adjusting to stepping in for Lathan and what's somewhat a different role?
You know, obviously Lathan's a really good player, so I'm trying to just step up and make sure there's no drop off. But I'm actually pretty comfortable with the position. You know, that's where I came in playing it as a freshman last year. So yeah, I'm pretty comfortable with the position, so it's not too hard for me.
Do you like it better than nickel?
I like both. You know, you get kind of a little bit of different stuff at the boundary safety, but you know, I like both.
What do you feel like you can showcase?
I think the boundary safety, you get a little bit more in the middle of the field action. You get a lot of run fits, so that's I like that. And you still get some of the similar pressures that you get from like the nickel.
Is it good for you to be learning these different positions early on in your career?
Yeah, I mean, I've kind of been learning all the positions since last year. When I came in as a freshman, like when we were going throughout practice, even though I wasn't playing, I was still playing all the three positions. So I was able to learn all of them, and I think it helps me help raise my football IQ, being able to know all the different positions, and then it started making me kind of understanding what the mic might be doing, what the wheel might be doing, where's the front at. So I think it gave me a bigger understanding of the defense as a whole.
Speaking of the mic, what was it like to see Cody kind of slide in for Tom?
I mean, Cody's a great player. You know, he's obviously playing a little bit here and there throughout the year, but I think one thing about Cody, he's going to execute. He's a great leader. I think he's one of those like Mr. Perfect guy. He does everything right.
Yeah, Jim Knowles said he's kind of like Tommy in that like he knows where everything's supposed to be on the defense. Do you get that sense too?
Yeah, like I said, he's like that Mr. Perfect. He knows everything. He does the right thing all the time. So you know, there was no worry with him stepping up and doing that.
Was it strange not having Tommy's voice out there though? I know he.
Yeah, a little bit. You know, I told him before the game I was going to miss him out there a little bit, but Yeah, I mean, like I said earlier, guys got to step up. There can't be any drop off.
So have you gotten more comfortable these last 2 weeks there, or have you been obviously you're comfortable there, but have you gotten more comfortable?
Yeah, I was kind of already comfortable with that. I think the biggest difference was, going from 30 plays to 70 plays. It's a little bit different in your body, but my body feels pretty good though.
Thanks, Sonny. So Sonny Styles, 7 tackles and a forced fumble last week. This week finishes with 3 tackles, a sack, and of course you throw in a tackle for loss with that sack. As the strong safety, the Bandit, 2 weeks now, replacing Lathan Ransom. Hasn't really been tested and won't be tested next week. Will be tested in 2 weeks, but you've got this runway for him to prepare for that. And he obviously said he's comfortable. He looks comfortable out there. You don't notice like, oh, geez, he missed something there, or nobody's attacking him right now. So I had questions of whether or not he could be a deep safety. Also had questions of whether or not he could play nickel. At this point, he's not doing anything where you're like, oh, he shouldn't be doing that.
No, he feels like he's doing what they need him to do, and you're not getting tested right now in a way that they're not playing USC or something like that where they're slinging the ball all over the field. Michigan does that to a certain degree, but not to the degree that like a USC does, or like a Tua-led or Bryce Young-led Alabama. So maybe you can just keep getting away with it, because it feels like the athleticism and the awareness that covers for a lot, a multitude of sins. And I just feel like I keep needing to remind myself and everyone else he should technically be a true freshman right now. That is just one of the things that's like I feel like we're sort of contractually obligated to just remind you, hey, he should be a true freshman right now. This is not normal what you're watching. So if there is a mistake at some point, what do you expect? He should be a true freshman right now.
Yeah, and he's the elder statesman of the 2 safeties that we're starting today with him and Blake Hartford, and showing that leadership and all of the growth that he made last year, just continuing right now.
Super chat from Wingman Ted. Can we just take a moment to appreciate the false start everybody but the center call is easily the best call in sports. It's great because the penalty is called on everyone except for the one guy who screwed up.
Yeah. It's kind of like if the Big Ten were to suspend you for something that you haven't done, but everybody around you has done. Right? Is that what you're saying?
I would never say that, Tony. I'm trying to keep peace in the chat.
Well, I'm not looking at the chat, so go at it. No, please be kind.
So let's hear a little bit from Michigan State head coach Harlan Barnett. Just a couple. This is just a couple quick ones, like a minute each. Just want to. Always good to hear from the opposing coach. The first one we're going to go to. It starts with a question about Marvin Harrison, but then he ends up getting asked. It's just he sort of asked about Marvin Harrison and the challenge of facing Marvin Harrison, but then the second question is about so you've played Washington and Michigan and Ohio State this year. Do you have any thoughts on this? And he doesn't really want to give you here's how I would rank those 3 teams. The quarterback Hauser was asked the same thing, hey, you face these 3 defenses, and he's like, they're all good. And here's Harlan Barnett with his thoughts on Marvin Harrison, and then the three potential playoff teams that Michigan State has faced this year.
Oh, he's a tough matchup. He's one of the best receivers in the country. And so we knew that. Wish we'd have, still did some things better. Don't get me wrong. We didn't want to just give him up some of the things that he did get. But and then Dylan Tatum, he's going to probably be out for the rest of the year with his injury. But he'll be back strong next year for sure.
You mentioned that you played 3 of the top 5. How good is Ohio State?
They're good. They're a good team. All 3 of those teams are good teams, and so it was a great experience. It'll be interesting to see how this thing all works out when it's all said and done, as far as playoffs and all that kind of stuff. but they're a good team.
All right, so that was one thing from Harlan Barnett. The other one I wanted to play for you, he got asked, he started getting asked, I think, about one of the players who's from the state of Ohio, and then it sort of turned into more of a broad answer about the relationship between Michigan State and the state of Ohio in general, because they have pulled a lot of talent out of the state of Ohio over the years. Harlan Barnett himself is a Cincinnati native. Because he's from Cincinnati, Tony, I need to tell you where he went to high school. That would be Princeton High School. He is, but he is one of many, many Spartans with ties to Ohio over the years. You'll hear him name check Percy Snow in this answer, which is pretty much an automatic, like, all right, we're going to get this on the show kind of thing. But I just thought this was kind of an interesting answer in terms of, I don't think Ohio State looks at Michigan State as, like a team that they spend a ton of time thinking about. But obviously there are people on the Michigan State team, past and present, who spend a lot of time thinking about Ohio State.
It was a minor injury. He should be fine. Nick should be fine. He's a competitor. He brings energy every day. Like you say, he's an Ohio guy, so that's always been a big deal for us at Michigan State. Even back when I played, Ohio guys trying to come to Ohio State and get a win, or even if they came to us, we're trying to win. I played with Travis Davis. We came here in '87. Travis had 5 sacks. He's an Ohio guy. Percy Snow, Ohio guy. Myself, Ohio guy. So we took pride in playing against these guys and beating these guys. And then since I've been a coach, recruited a lot of guys from Ohio. And whenever we would come down here and play, or they came up to play us, was always talking about how we want to beat these guys because we're from Ohio, and and everybody on the team would always try to be fired up for them because we were always fired up to try to beat Michigan for the Michigan guys. So the Michigan guys were fired up for the Ohio guys when we tried to beat Ohio State. So it was always a very, very important deal to try to do that.
All right, so that was Harlan Barnett, the interim Michigan State coach, obviously not in a great spot. I mean, I'm sure it's cool to be the head coach, even the acting head coach. I was thinking about that last week when we were at Rutgers and the year that it was like Nunzio Campanile after Chris Ash got fired. And, I'm sure it's cool. Sharon Moore got to do it today for Michigan in a somewhat different situation. Larry Johnson got to do it for Ohio State during the 2020 season when Ryan Day had COVID. It's, it's a cool opportunity, but yeah, this is not probably a fair assessment of his head coaching abilities because it is a rough, a not great team that has had some very, very bad circumstances thrown upon it.
Yeah, it's no win situation, but it's an opportunity to get experience. And sometimes you get decent wins like last week against Nebraska that people weren't expecting you to get, but they're still fighting. And I think that's what a lot of people will take from this is the team hasn't quit.
Yeah. Super chat from Mike Farino. I'm late today. Might have already been asked, but what did Michigan State do today that he always comes out and tries to end their program in the first half, then dial it back to like 2 in the second half?
Yeah, I don't know. It's one of those things, how Jim Tressel, we'd see 17 to 13 games all season long, but whenever it's Northwestern and his good buddy Fitz, we'll just throw like 52 points on them. Like the Ohio State Buckeyes under Jim Tressel probably doubled their regular season point total average against Northwestern, and Pat Fitzgerald couldn't say enough good things about Jim Tressel. Jim Tressel couldn't say enough good things about Pat Fitzgerald, but he loved I don't know if he loved it, but he just destroyed it. Maybe it was because like Pat's a good guy. He'll understand. And then just throw 1,000 points on him. I don't know what it is about Michigan State that Ryan Day has. I don't think it's a burr. I think it's just bad secondaries is a big thing.
Yeah. Michigan State has been not good and has been particularly bad in terms of the secondary. Yeah. That's exactly it. I mean, you go back to the 2021 season, that team was 130th in some pass defense categories, and that was not what you wanted to be when you were facing a team with C.J. Stroud and Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave and Jackson Smith-Njigba. That was not a winning. That is not a winning matchup for you if that is one of the weaknesses of your team. Do we want to run through a couple of the starred comments, or let's hit a couple questions.
I'm having too much fun talking to my people.
Sorry to make it work.
It's right off the air. Wingman Jay, did anybody see a strange-looking janitor walking around vacuuming stuff up in the stadium today?
I mean, of course. I mean, that's every game. We'll see strangers vacuuming stuff. I don't know.
I will tell you that if you walk around a stadium full of Ohio State people with a cell phone and a tripod, and then you set those up, more than one person will ask you if you were Connor Stallions.
Really?
Did you know? Yes. I went way up to the top of C-Deck on the north end of the horseshoe to get, the big, hey, the fireworks are going off picture, and set up a camera to get, the video of it. Oh, hey, look at that. Boom. Our
Roasted
producer,
it.
our friends in South Florida, right on top of things. Yes, there is the picture. I'm so annoyed. I went just a little too high because I wanted to make sure I got the fireworks in the shot, but then even as wide as I could get, I cut off the bottom of the end zone. It just incredibly annoyed by that.
Yeah,
but
no,
it's okay.
my eye can't.
Yeah. Oh no,
I missed the end zone.
believe me.
If that was in the picture, the flag, if that was in the picture, and you've got so much sky above the top of the fireworks, like
Believe me, no one is more aware of the framing issues with this photo than I am.
This is also a podcast, so I'm just making sure people understand why you're so frustrated and why I'm taking such joy in it.
I was worried that you were just taking joy in my failures, but
No, I'm doing it for the people.
I'm glad.
It's not, Tom, it's not about me taking joy in your failures. It's about me allowing the people to take joy in your failures.
Dave K says, "Happy birthday, Kevin. You are probably one of the top 3 guys on the Buckeye Weekly team."
Well,
Okay, first of all, I got to correct you on something.
yes,
His birthday was like a week ago.
days ago.
He's like a 10-year-old girl. Like, oh,
Yeah.
it's my birthday
My
month.
birthday month. No,
I didn't mean to say
PG.
anything about my birthday.
Keep it PG, Kevin.
I said,
Yeah.
Shut up. I didn't say what I wanted.
See, here's the thing.
Mm.
He says that he's one of the top 3 people. The commenter says that he's one of the top 3 people. He doesn't realize we have a producer
Mm.
working behind the scenes very hard in Florida, punching these things up for us.
Well-
it's his birthday month, so we have to be nice to him. So we'll say maybe he is top 3.
Well, I mean, it
maybe.
does. It says probably.
Probably,
So
yeah.
maybe possibly
Mhm.
would be a better, perhaps. Probably is strong.
I'm starting to get a little concerned that he might not be one of the top 2 people on the Buckeyes Tomorrow Morning podcast for tomorrow morning.
No,
If
Kevin
he-
definitely top 3.
if
Kevin
he-
is definitely top 3.
Sounds like Tony is doing Buckeyes tomorrow morning tonight.
Top
I'm
5.
going home.
Kevin is top 5.
What else we got?
Here we go.
Jeremiah Yoder, the best thing about being 10-0 is the chance to go 11-0, and the absolute demise of the Cheeterines is on its way, and I love it.
I'm not usually a fan of cheeterines, but I like the barbecue version.
Is that like the chicken giblets? Do you fry them up? What is a Cheeterine exactly?
I don't know, Tom. I was just making that up. It's like, I don't know. I don't know what that is, Tom.
Ryan Dawes says Stover was an animal.
Yeah.
7 targets, 7 catches, 79 yards, and a touchdown in one half of work.
And-
there's Cade Stover
okay.
right there,
This is
catching the touchdown.
this is not a back shoulder. This is a back hip
Mhm.
throw, as I've
Mhm.
been saying to myself and to nobody else. That was a great pass, great catch, all of that. And pretty good photo, too.
Mhm.
And you can see there, really nice grab there. And when he is healthy or healthy-ish, because he's not healthy,
No,
like he's still
no.
got his bandage on his right wrist, the same thing he had last week,
Mhm.
and they held him out. But man, 7 catches, 7 targets the first half. Kyle McCord said he's thrilled to have him back, and that's a guy that you miss when he's not out there, and he makes everybody else better and more threatening because, as Ryan Day says, he's a player that causes conflict for a defense because he's a definite passing weapon, but also in there with the running game helps them out as well.
Yeah, and here's a quick look at Kyle McCord's targets, top targets on the day. 9 targets, 7 catches for Marvin Harrison, 149 yards, 2 touchdowns receiving, 1 rushing touchdown. Cade Stover, as we said, 7 targets, 7 catches, 79 yards, and a touchdown. Carnell Tate, 2 targets, 2 catches, 26 yards. Julian Fleming, 3 targets, 2 catches, only 12 yards. But, you go through that list, and there were only 3 times that someone was targeted that they didn't catch it among those guys. That's, and that's kind of the first line of receivers. And Emeka Ibuka would, be on that list as well. I think he was targeted
5, caught 1.
Oh, really?
That was a rough one.
Yeah. Okay. So that's
why he's not on the graphic.
Yeah. There you go. Rick S says, if you had to share a room with Jim Harbaugh and Mel Tucker, who gets the cut of shame?
Mel Tucker would get the back because I don't want to be around him. Hey, are your kids asleep yet?
So in this scenario, what is the hotel room set up? Because is it 2
just 1 king?
Is it 2 queen beds? Is it a king? Is it what's the situation?
Well,
is this a?
It's certainly not a residence inn.
No, two queens and enough room for the air mattress.
But in one room. So this is not a
Room,
multi.
no,
okay.
No kitchenette, no half office.
Fairfield Inn.
This is $86.
I might be sleeping on like the sofa in the lobby.
Hey, I'm sleeping in a van. I don't care if it's by a river or not.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna. You know what? I'll defend the automobile outside, and I'll stay there. Now, is this a November game? Is this December? Is this September? I
don't think it matters that much.
No. Let's really explore this.
Those are 2 such different vibes, but it's like two tuning forks that just create this. They just explode all the glass. They're different.
His own sleeping bag because he is used to sleepovers.
Well, there is that. Also, he's gonna be like, "Hey guys, you mind if I punch up some Judge Judy?" And we're like, "We're trying to watch football." It's a big game. He's like, "Yeah, but this is a very special episode of Judge Judy."
So he's into courtroom drama, eh?
Tom, super chat, and this is something I wanted to talk about. I was going to bring this up right away. Mike Farino, Jelani Thurman looked like a future beast. Hope he can become a great blocker. He just a couple of short routes, but he got the most out of them, pushing dudes down, getting extra yards, picking up the first down, and then the one first down he picks up, and then he throws the first down signal on the defender or in the direction. And that guy is impressive to be around, to look at, to watch with the ball. And true freshman, you can't expect much from. You shouldn't expect anything from a true freshman tight end. It's a developmental situation, but he is so far beyond what normally they have in terms of development. Like, he's already 6'6", he's probably 260 at this point, but he still looks like he's maybe like 235 because he is kind of lanky, but he obviously is a strong dude, and you saw that. And next year, I think the opportunities are wide open because it's G. Scott is obviously going to be involved, but Jelani Thurman is just different than anything else they have.
Yeah, he's someone who you go back to the spring. I remember looking at him in one of the practices or something, and it was just like going through drills or one-on-ones or something, and it was just kind of like, oh yeah, I can see it already. And I'm sure it's a little frustrating to have us talk about that in like April or March. And then here we are in November, and was that the first time he got on the field?
No, he has played he's played offense in 2 other games, like 6 total snaps.
Okay. So the answer is no, but yes.
Right.
So yeah, he is someone who you stand next to him, and it's just like, oh, this is like, it's a different physique. It's just, it's not a, he's taller, I think, than Cade Stover.
Yep.
He's just and very athletic, and you can just see it, and it's like, that dude is going to be a problem, like capital P problem, in a year or 2. And so the short answer is strong agree. Yes, there is a lot in there. You just got to be patient. Capital P problem, capital P patience. We'll see in 2024.
Yeah, this was his 3rd game played, so he still has 1 more. Played 5 snaps against Western Kentucky, 1 against Purdue, and a handful there today. So you save him. Does he play next week, or do you hold him out just in case? I think at this point you might hold him out just in case, depending on. Cade Stover is still not healthy, so I don't think you play Jelani Thurman next week because you may need him for something more important.
Yeah.
Because if you play him next week, that's it.
Yeah.
You're not going to.
Yeah.
It's a good thing he got that one snap against Purdue.
Yeah. I don't think they're going to. I don't think he's someone who you're probably bringing in as a surprise weapon off the bench against Michigan or something like that. But
it's an emergency.
You're right.
thing.
You're right. I mean, you look at, Joe Royer. We don't know how long he's going to be out. Cade Stover has been banged up. He's back in, but, no Bennett Christian. You've got G. Scott has been playing, but the bench gets pretty thin pretty quick at tight end.
Last week, Patrick Hurd was their number 2 tight end. So.
Yeah. Mike Smith says, even though it was Michigan State, the offense started much faster. Good to finally see that and know there's still much more improvement that can be made. Warranted criticism or not, let's be happy we have Day and not Franklin.
Well, you should thank your lucky stars every day that you have Ryan Day instead of James Franklin, because one coach does not actively try to – not even try, just actively ends up losing games or making winning less likely. And, one of the things I talked about with that game, the Michigan-Penn State game, one of the notes I wrote is, can James Franklin, can they somehow, can he not lose that game for them? And not that he didn't necessarily lose them, but he sure did not win it for them. And I still think Michigan wins that game, regardless, they would find a way, but he could have made it a lot more difficult for them to do so. And how do you go an entire half without forcing them to throw the ball?
It is just such an entire mood. His game management is such an entire mood. I have friends from my freshman year dorm in town this weekend. So we met up and went and just watched the Michigan-Penn State game. And I'm sitting there with them, and I'm looking, and they have scored, and it's 17-9, and he's holding up 2 fingers, and I'm like, "Are you doing your Ronnie James Dio impression? What are you doing? It's 17-9." Like he just so constantly gives off the vibe of someone who has skimmed the Wikipedia article about whatever football strategy it is. And it's like, well, did you read the whole thing? It's like, well, skimmed it. You read the article? No, I read the Wikipedia about the article, and I skimmed that. And it was like, well, like there are times when you can go for 2, and that's like a modern football, like that's a thing. Like what he did in Columbus, where they were down. They were down 4? Oh, they were down 14, and they scored a touchdown, and then he went for it then in the last couple minutes. That's like not an outrageous thing. That's something that you will have people. There's like an active theory that's the thing you do. So, okay, this was in the second quarter, and it's like you're just setting yourself up to chase points, and you're not going to believe it, Tony. But he set himself up to chase points, and it didn't work out. I was as surprised as anyone, frankly.
Yeah, he gets his information from Wikipedia, or it's like if you write up a legal brief and copy and paste something from a blog, a sports blog.
It's like all of his notes have like super photocopier burn on them. Like, it's like copy. It's like, forward, 2-point theory. Like no, that's not no. That's.
He could have done a better job, I guess is what I'm saying.
He could have done a better job at the James Franklin story. Now we have a name for the book.
There you go.
Mike Smith, the Iowa quarterback Deacon Hill, had more passing yards at halftime than either Aller or McCarthy had for the whole game. What a wild day.
Yeah, a wild day. What's that?
Who scored a touchdown for Iowa?
Caleb Brown.
Oh, how about that?
Look at that. Former Ohio State wide receiver.
The real news there is someone scored a touchdown for Iowa.
Right.
I saw it. After being 3-0 in the first half, Iowa scored 19 points in the second half. So, Tony, if I told you one team is going to score 19 points in one half, the over-under is only 27.5. Does the over hit?
So was that 4 field goals then? Like that's the 5 scoring drives in there. This seems like more likely two missed extra points, or you're chasing points. because was it like 6-0?
It was
And
3.
so-
It was 3-0 at halftime.
Right. But then if they go to 6-0, were they trying to chase to get to that 14 on the next touchdown? So I find it hard to believe that they had 5 scoring drives in the
Put some respect in your mouth.
second half.
We're talking about the Big Ten West champions, more than likely.
The Big Ten West, more than likely champion Iowa Hawkeyes. Deacon Hill, more passing yards. Well, J.J. McCarthy was like 7 of 8 in the first half, and then nothing after that in the second half. Drew Aller, boy, they need to find a pitch doctor for him or something, because his accuracy is, Tom, waccuracy.
Boom. Nailed it. Okay. So I'm going to read you the end of the drives. That's it. I'm not going to read you plays. I'm not going to read you yardage. Just the end of the drives. Which one do you want first, Iowa or Rutgers?
Oh, I don't want Rutgers.
Well, sorry. So does that mean you want to start with Iowa?
Yes.
Okay. Missed field goal, punt, field goal, interception, punt. That gets us to, let's see, they next get the ball back with 6:22 left in the third quarter. So that's everything that gets you through 6:22 in the third quarter. After that, field goal, touchdown, end of game. Tony, it's time to read Rutgers. Brace yourself. Punt, end of half. Punt, interception.
Ooh.
It's important to keep things fresh. Punt.
Tom, if you're punting every time, don't at some point you just have to go for it on 4th down and be like, you know what, let's try to change things up.
Greg Schiano went for it on 4th down. Like, he's done that a bunch. He's been real creative.
Maybe there are a lot of 3rd and longs in there.
Well, I mean,
4th and longs.
Yeah, there's
ooh, boy, let's super chat, Tom. Gotta get to the super chat.
Okay, super chat. From Jordan Kapler, would you say Kevin is the James Franklin or Alex Grinch of Buckeye Huddle?
Well, he's not the Alex Grinch, because
Counterpoint, there's no defending Kevin.
I was going to say Kevin is very defensive. So then maybe you are Alex Grinch. But is Kevin more like James Franklin, who, you know what, maybe, Tom, because quite often Kevin is part of a very good situation here, and yet he constantly tries to ruin it.
We need a separate camera pointing at Kevin's face, looking at us during this show.
Welcome everybody into Buckeyes tomorrow morning. We're recording it right now.
See, you're giving us these super chats, and we have to talk about them because they're super chats.
They're super chats.
But if I have to stay here another 20 minutes extra to do Buckeyes tomorrow morning, I am not going to be happy.
All right. Super chat from Ryan Dawes. New to the call map. Handle your scandal better. Tom Orr reads Big Ten bylaws. I mean, I don't know whether I'm relieved that we're now probably most of the way through. I have to read the Big Ten sportsmanship policy on the internet, or a little bit concerned that you're going to get into a long NCAA investigation that's probably going to have a lot of interest from the partisans in Columbus, Ohio. I feel like there might be some NCAA bylaws in our future, and I'm not sure how to feel about that.
I know exactly how you feel about it. You're excited about this.
If you're familiar with the film The Water Boy.
Again, we do need a camera on Kevin. But
great, more gear for me.
Yes.
Oh, goodness.
This is not going over. This is not going away anytime soon. And you'll have the COVID stuff finally eventually hitting, and then this stuff. This is going to go on. This will get us through the off season, Tom.
Yeah, I mean, well, and here's the fun thing.
We have at least 90 days.
Well, you're going to have at least 90 days because of the, that's the amount of time that the NCAA gives your school to respond to the notice of allegations.
And then you have 90 days after that to respond.
Yeah. First of all, I think people are going people are going to expect this to get resolved, and it's like this is going to get resolved in 3 weeks, right? And it's like no. This is going to drag on and on and on, and that's I mean, not that the last couple weeks have not been extremely. I don't know what's a value neutral word for. I mean, it's been busy, so. It's been eventful. Eventful is the word. Eventful is the word I'm looking for. I have had more people come up to me in the last 72 hours and go,
Sir, this is not a Wendy's.
Sir, this is not a Wendy's. But yeah, I had a good buddy Sam from Village Coffee in Granville. Was in there getting a beverage this morning, and he's like, "What are you doing here?" I'm like, "What do you mean? What am I doing here?" He's like, shouldn't you be doing a live stream? It's like, well, yes, probably I should. Yes, but I'm not right now. I either need to have sleep or caffeine, at least one of those things.
And what am I doing here? I'm not here to take a nap. I'm here for some coffee.
Yes.
Just even Thursday, Friday, just sitting around waiting for the news to drop. It's like we have not done shows because we're waiting to do shows.
There was one of the members of the Ohio State marching band stopped me. My personal new favorite, Tony's, he's on Tony's list. He stopped me. He's like, "So how are you doing in bold predictions this week?" And I said, we didn't even do it. We didn't get to it because we were just sitting there waiting for this to all happen, and it didn't happen, and then it did happen. And he said, "Well, if you'd done them, I'm sure you would have won." I was like, thank you. I'm so glad. This is, Tony, why they call them the best damn band in the land.
No, that's not.
That's really bold of the person to lie to your face like
yeah, we do it all the time. There's nothing bold to it.
Great show, guys.
So we are done we are caught up on the super chats. Tom, anything else from this game? I did like the Jelani Thurman thing. Got to see CJ Hicks out there. Got
Lincoln
to see
Kenols?
Lincoln. Yes, Lincoln Kenols. I thought that was great that he was out there. Hero Canoe played a bunch because I think my call was not out there.
Calvin Simpson Hunt.
Calvin Simpson Hunt mentioned that earlier. How I like the fact that he came in there for Jermaine Matthews, and the very first play he's in there, they attack him with a screen. He's got 2 or 3 offensive linemen coming right at him. It's like, this is not what you want to see as a true freshman corner. You're like, all right, I'm getting to play. This is going to be pretty cool. And then they throw a screen your way, and you're like, well.
You get the record scratch. So you're probably wondering how I got in this situation.
But Ryan Day said after game, that was one guy that stood out to him because of that play. He went in there, and he was part of that tackle. And he's also a guy that they had talked about earlier in the week as somebody who stepped up last week on special teams, catching their eye. And boy, this Jermaine Matthews, Calvin Simpson Hunt, if it's continues to go this way for Simpson Hunt, and he continues to rise, because remember, he was a summer enrollee. He was not an early enrollee. Jermaine Matthews was. So Matthews obviously is ahead of him. But next year, the year after, those two guys, of course, Jermaine Matthews should be starting next year. I think we all assume that, depending on who is back. Davis Nigbenosin will be back. So you'll see some Calvin Simpson Hunt out there. I believe we also saw some Ryan Turner out there.
He was out there a little bit towards the end, yeah. And Calvin Simpson Hunt is intriguing because he's, you're seeing, okay, he's willing to put his face in there a little bit like Davis Nigbenosin is. He's also someone, he has a track background. He was a big time track guy. So he's got some speed too. So, true freshman, summer enrollee, you go, expect absolutely nothing out of a corner who is a true freshman, early enrollee or summer enrollee. That's like, do not expect anything, but worth
it's November now.
A situation worth monitoring for the future there, I would say for sure. Mike Smith says the way the Michigan is leaving the Big Ten has really taken off, really confuses me. Great show as always. Subscribe to Buckeye Huddle for more great content. Also hit the thumbs up.
Yeah.
That would help us as well. Yeah, I don't think any serious person can really think Michigan is going to leave the Big Ten and they're either going to go to the SEC or they're going to go to the ACC or they're going to go be independent. There are such screamingly obvious issues, and they're different issues with all three of those things. But it's like no serious person can actually think that that's a thing that can actually happen.
No, and
Nose, face, spite.
yeah, and the thing is, you're having folks on the Michigan side reporting that the higher ups in Michigan, donors, boosters, admins, or whatever, are asking about this. And that's why I tweeted out, I think yesterday, that it's basically fan fiction. It's something that every fan base has wondered about or talked about or gotten mad about at some point. You're like, you know what, we're leaving. We're going to get out of this conference. We're going to make it on our own. We're going to go our own way. And there are probably talks in some spheres because Ohio State talked internally about it in 2020, but it was just to play an independent schedule for that year.
Season. That
Correct.
was not leaving the Big Ten.
It's very different.
6-year-old saying, I'm running away from home.
That's
You're mean, Mom. I'm running away from home.
It's not. I mean, that's very close, but this is more like 3-year-old behavior.
Yeah.
Like this is a bunch of people who were not told no enough as children, and so they think, well, but I want it.
Yeah.
Grow up. Your parents failed you. Good Lord.
Yeah, and well, we can just get TV money from somewhere else. Go get it, but it's the Big Ten's for the next 7 years.
The Big Ten.
The Big Ten.
Yeah.
The Big Ten gets your every home TV game money through June of 2030. Okay. So now are you going to stay super mad through 2030 and then you're going to leave? Okay, where are you going to leave? You're going to go to the ACC and make $13 a year?
Yeah.
Okay, have fun.
No, and that's out till 2035. That contract with the ACC, and it is like $35 million, like a third of what they'll be making with the Big Ten. The SEC is part of the group that turned them into the NCAA.
Right.
So there's.
Yeah.
If you're mad at the Big Ten, you should also be mad at the SEC.
Yeah.
But there were
no, Tony, they should go independent because they have like 30 sports, and I'm sure scheduling 30 sports as an independent will work great.
Yeah. They're looking to see if Notre Dame can get $75 million, we could probably get $175 million. So no, it doesn't work that way. Although I also did see some speculation that with the Big Ten breaching the contract by doing what they've done with Jim Harbaugh, that would nullify the grant of rights. So that would be pretty big if true, Tom, to nullify those grant of rights by doing something that they were not allowed to do, even though it was in the bylaws of the Big Ten that they could do this.
Well, there's only
cheating.
There's only one way to find out whether that will hold up to any legal scrutiny, and that's for someone to post it on a blog and then an attorney to copy that and post it into a legal argument and then to submit it. And then we'll know for sure.
That's the only way to know.
Well, they've been getting such spot-on information up north anyway.
Well, they certainly have
That
been.
could be for a whole other show.
That it could.
We've got
be
7
a
days
whole
next
other
week.
show. Then that play did not even count Mike Farino. So which play was that? Was that the Calvin? Was that the Calvin Simpson Hunt?
Oh,
Play?
did it
that
not
might,
count?
That might have been
Oh,
the Calvin. There was one that came back on a hold.
Well, it counts on tape, and that's all
It
that
does,
matters.
yeah.
And so they like that one.
There's still 400 people hanging out with us at 10 till 1.
Do you want me to go on another rant about parenting?
All right.
Break down my gear, and I'll see you Tuesday.
Yeah, no, it's the Michigan to another conference thing is literally the stupidest thing I have ever heard in my life. If you are a writer, a board of trustees member, a university president, a football person, an athletic director, and you think for more than 2 minutes about this and don't go, well, this is weapons grade stupidity, I'm an idiot for even thinking it. If you don't think that, like, you probably should not hold your job. Like, it is so self-evidently the dumbest idea in the world, and people are just throwing themselves on the ground and throwing a temper tantrum. It's like, well, I want an Oompa Loompa too. Grow up, Peter Pan.
Yeah, and
Willy Wonka.
I know it's Willy Wonka.
Well, we were talking about it in the chat.
is this going to be the Wicked Witch of the West, Wicked Witch of the East argument between you two? Because if it is, we need the camera on both of you. We'll just spin it around. This whole thing is with Michigan and leaving is very, very silly. And I tweeted out the other day or yesterday, Michigan isn't leaving the Big Ten. The idea that they would leave is because they're unhappy with the speed at which the Big Ten operated, even though the results of that would probably be very similar to the results of what the NCAA hands down in terms of you've done wrong here. You are going to be punished, but you're so unhappy. You're thinking about leaving because you were punished quicker than you thought you should have been, when you still have not acknowledged that you didn't do any of the things wrong that you've been accused of. So what are you're just mad about the speed of this more than anything?
Yes, because the case started too soon. And then after Michigan was asked for and was granted an extra day to get the response back, then the Big Ten's response to their response came a day too late and was done purely out of spite.
Yes.
After Michigan took an extra day, was granted an extra day. And so it was too fast. And
too furious.
Too slow, and then too slow, or too fast, and then too slow again. And
This bit's too hard. And this
it
bit's too soft.
is, yes. It's, you sort of get the impression that, sometimes people are just unhappy about stuff and they're just going to complain about stuff.
But you called that.
Oh, yeah,
yesterday
100%.
in terms of all of the responses that were going to come from this, or 2 days ago, whatever it was.
Yeah. Well, if it had come out on Thursday, then it would have been that the Big Ten didn't take a sufficient amount of time, and they didn't obviously take their valuable input into account. And then if it came out on Friday, it was unfair because then it was too close, and then Jim might have had to get on an airplane and not actually get to go to the game. And then if it comes out on Monday, then it's unfair because it's been hanging over their heads all weekend and you can't have that. And it's like, when would you like us to release it? And it's like, well, we'd like you to just say that you're not going to do anything until after the season. It's like, well, that's not really an option. So is there another option that will make you feel happy? No. Okay. So then you're going to release it when you're going to release it. Mike Farino says he was referring to the Calvin Simpson Hunt screenplay. Cool. So there you go.
Yep. Any punch, step, start things that we can talk about here?
Unless we want to go down the hill and talk about more punishment and stuff like that. But you said there are a lot more shows on that one.
There are, in fact, a lot more shows.
And all of that punishment is still to come. The punishment that is here now, we've already talked about plenty. As I've called it, it's a punishment without an impact. You saw that today. Although I think Michigan was a little bit impacted today with some of the difficulties they had getting plays in. Sherrone Moore had a lot on his plate this week, so you can understand that things are a little bit more difficult. And they had to call some timeouts. But again, now they are 4-0 without Jim Harbaugh on the sideline, so I don't think you can really talk about the impact that having him suspended would cause to Michigan and the irreparable nature of the sanctions, because they seem to be quite reparable based on the results.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like this is a pretty good team, and I don't think that's something that's going to hold them back from, getting to wherever they're going to get. I think, how does the Ohio State game go is about the only thing that's going to keep them out of the playoff at this point. And, once they get into the playoff, they think they've, Georgia apparently looked pretty darn good on Saturday night against Ole Miss, and Washington has kept winning, and Oregon, I think, is pretty darn good. But, Michigan is absolutely in that top group, and we'll see how the college football playoff rankings change on Tuesday night when we do our live show there. Make sure you are subscribed to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/Buckeye Huddle. Hit the subscribe button, hit the bell so you get notified, and hit the thumbs up on this video if you have not already. That will help other folks find these shows in the future. Dave K says, Tony's wife, Kevin's cat, and Tom's softball right fielder says that everyone should hit the thumbs up.
I missed the softball right fielder, or did I?
I think that was just thrown in there.
Oh, okay.
Just because, yes.
All right.
Griffin Whip 70 says, hey, I want to thank you guys for the best Buckeye coverage. But we appreciate you guys staying up with us.
Yeah.
I know it is
12:54.
12:54. We are pushing 1 a.m. on the East Coast. We appreciate you guys.
On the last call.
Yeah, we appreciate you guys staying up with us and talking a little Ohio State, talking a little Michigan, talking a little college football. It is a little jarring that we have one more home game left on this schedule, and two weeks from now we are going to be back home after the Michigan game, and we are going to know a whole heck of a lot more about what the next, 12 months or so are going to feel like in Columbus, Ohio, and Ann Arbor, Michigan. And boy, it doesn't feel like we could possibly be that far along in the season.
No, it is the shortest sports season, but it's also the fastest. Like this, you start getting ready for it in July, and then Big Ten Media Day gets here, and you're like, before you know it, we're going to be on the road for Notre Dame. And you're just thinking back then, before you know it, we're going to be getting ready for how do we handle Michigan week, the prep. And we're already talking about the prep for that. This season just boom. And it seems like game 3 through 10 just zips by. It takes, that's 2 months, and it takes about the span of 6 weeks because it moves so fast, even more 3 weeks, Tom. It moves so quickly, and it becomes a blur. And then you kind of like slow down a little bit. Now basketball season is starting and makes everything even more complicated, but still 2 games to go. Plenty of coverage, plenty to talk about. 2 very important games, Tom. One to get healthy and one to be ready, and then one to grow on.
No, we'll see if they get the one to grow on this year. They have not for a couple of years, but they, you assuming they take care of business against Minnesota, that Ohio State Michigan game becomes one of, we're almost accustomed to. We're in the 10-year war mode where this is a top 5 game, a top 5 matchup of 2 unbeaten teams, seemingly as often as not at this point. Or one of them is 11-0, one of them is 10-1. That has almost become the norm. It's still going to have crazy hype just for that. But then you throw in all the other stuff going on this year. Oh boy, this is going to be wild. And we're going to be sitting in this room in 6.5 days talking about the fact that it's Michigan week.
Yeah, that's
how on earth is it? Are we a week away from Michigan week?
Yeah, once the victory bell starts, or assuming Ohio State wins, boom, that's the start of.
Once Ohio State gets a 3-score lead,
that's the start
Michigan
of
week.
Michigan week, and it's.
DJ Flex stops clapping.
Well,
that
maybe, but then watching Michigan today, watching Penn State run the ball without being able to throw the ball, made me think that Ohio State should be able to run the ball like that on Michigan because they can also throw the ball, and if they can keep Kyle McCord upright, then he should have the footwork to maintain some accuracy. It's just that's asking a lot. I thought the offensive line was fantastic today. No Josh Simmons false starts that I recall. There was almost no pressure for Kyle McCord. And the one time if there was pressure, he stepped up into the pocket, threw a little shovel to Cade Stover, through a defender. That was a nice little move. Just show you how comfortable he was tonight. When you're doing something like that, you're like, we've seen J.J. McCarthy do similar things like that, getting outside the pocket and basically just shoveling it for 8 yards because you're in total control of everything that is going on. And that's what Kyle McCord was tonight.
Yeah, that was not, this is not the greatest defense he's going to face by any means, but you did to a defense like that what you should do to a defense like that. That's
all the football teams he's facing, that was one.
Yeah.
It was indeed one of them.
Yes. But they did what they were supposed to do. I'm just looking at the Penn State averaged 4.1 yards per play, but 4.7 yards per rush. So they threw 23 passes for 74 yards. That's like 3 yards a pass.
It's terrible. And if they would only throw 3-yard passes, they might complete some of them.
Well, and
because they throw 7-yard passes, and it's wild.
We're gonna have a whole conversation about this on the Monday episode of Buckeye Weekly when we, please, dear Lord, get back to the Michigan Monday format and don't have another week of breaking news that throws us off of our normal schedule.
We should have at least until Friday.
We should.
Nothing's happening until Friday, unless Well, that could be, or if perhaps Michigan is like, you know what, we were in the wrong. We're gonna go ahead and take that TRO thing. We don't need a court date or anything like that.
Harbaugh thinks it's TRL. He loved that.
Thank you, Carson. I would like to request to be on the sidelines next week. It's 1 a.m, dude.
It sure is. Yes, it sure is.
We've been rapping
Does
for
that?
20 minutes.
Yeah, I think it might be time.
All right, then. Want to thank you all for sticking through all of this. As always, we invite you to BuckeyeHuddle.com. Become a member if you haven't yet. It is a fantastic way to support all of us and what we do here. Of course, as is the hitting the thumbs up. It's a free way to help us and subscribing to the channel and things like that. So thank you all for tuning in, and we'll talk to you guys later.